streets. It's not your house, Donald, it's ours, you clown. The people built it up and we're tearing you down. It's not your throne, it's a rented seat. And we're changing the locks on Pennsylvania Street. It's not your army, Dawn, they fight for us, not you. They swore to guard the flag, not your fragile ego too. You called them your generals, well that's cute and quaint. They'd rather court-martial you than kiss your faint gold paint. You're the squatter-in-chief of the USA, and the people are here to haul your junk away. It's not your house, Donald, go count your sheep.
Just weeks into the new year, the Trump administration has surged ICE agents to American cities, overthrown a foreign head of state, threatened a military takeover of Greenland, and rewritten the history of January 6th. As Liz Landers reports, the administration has rolled out a campaign across departments that draws on images and ideas borrowed from right-wing and white nationalist circles.
From the U.S. Department of Labor, a message. One homeland, one people, one heritage. Remember who you are, American. It's a video that appears to be part of a campaign now ramping up to sell the administration's efforts to the American people. For example, calling on potential ICE recruits to, quote, defend the homeland from outsiders while featuring heroic images of white men, often from a bygone era. Then there's this tweet from Friday, an ICE recruitment ad featuring the turn of phrase, "We'll have our home again," plastered over an image of a man on horseback and a stealth bomber flying in the distance. That's a reference to the song "We'll Have Our Home Again," a white supremacist anthem favored by the Proud Boys.
Oh my God, we'll have our home again. By God, we'll have our home.
Another image tells supporters to, quote, trust the plan, the slogan of the right-wing conspiracy theory known as QAnon, which posits there's a global cabal of pedophiles and deep state actors trafficking children, and that Trump is fighting it. It's also a movement heavily involved in the insurrection on January 6, 2021. Last week, the Trump administration published a new website rewriting that history to blame Democrats for security failures that day and to justify the president's pardoning of more than 1,500 defendants. Weighing in on another era, last week President Trump also sat for a lengthy interview with the New York Times. He was asked about the civil rights movement and told reporters that while the landmark legislation did some good things, he said, quote, it also hurt a lot of people that deserve to go to a college or deserve to get a job were unable to get a job. So it was a reverse discrimination. A day later, Trump supporter and billionaire Elon Musk wrote 100 above this message on X, which read in part, quote, if white men become a minority, we will be slaughtered. White solidarity is the only way to survive. That's known as the Great Replacement Theory, popular in white nationalist circles that falsely claims the white population is being intentionally replaced by non-whites. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Liz Landers.
For more context on what some of these images and posts mean and why the Trump administration is using them, we turn now to CYNTHIA Miller-Idriss, director of the Polarization and Extremism Research Innovation Lab at American University. Welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we've seen some of these messages before, but this ramping up of their delivery and from multiple official administration accounts, what does all of that signal to you at this point, nearly 1 year into this administration?
Yeah, it does feel like a turning point in the propaganda campaign, if you will, in the shift to try to change people's minds about what's happening. I think they feel we're at a moment when ICE has a 57% disapproval rating, I heard today, where it's the second least liked federal agency, only after the IRS. And so, you know, we have a moment when the American public is seeing what's happening, are watching abuses, are watching cell phone video, especially the recent murder of a protester. That, I think, is why we're seeing this kind of campaign to try to position what ICE is doing as in the public interest, as safety, and of course with a lot of dog whistles, or sometimes not even dog whistles, making racist and conspiratorial claims about what would happen if they don't do it.
Let's take just a closer look at some of the examples that Liz was just citing there, because some people will look at this and say, I don't see anything wrong with this. There's the painting, for example, this 1870s painting called American Progress, was posted by Homeland Security. It features a sort of manifest destiny tableau. It talks about a heritage worth protecting. Why is that significant? Why this reliance on this sort of old imagery and this messaging, this language?
Yeah, so, well, propaganda messaging relies on people's memories of other images that they might associate with positive things even. So we'll see even terrorist groups use things like civil rights iconographic messaging or women's rights iconography to sort of position themselves as a liberating force from oppressors. We see in that particular image not just a woman flying over, a white woman carrying a textbook, right? A really interesting part that is known as a kind of education is going to lead the way. We're going to claim and what we can about knowledge and make sure that people believe as we claim more space at a moment when we're also invading Venezuela and making threats about Greenland.
He's not part of the administration technically, but to have Elon Musk openly retweeting white nationalist language, why is that significant?
Well, this kind of white nationalist language, when it's conspiratorial, it's been linked to terrorist attacks in Pittsburgh, in El Paso, in Buffalo. I mean, that was the motivating, in Christchurch, New Zealand, in Oslo, Norway. I mean, hundreds of people have died because of that conspiracy theory, because people believe there is a dire threat posed by multicultural societies and that someone is orchestrating it to make white people disappear. And so that is dangerous.
There's also this piece that Liz reported on in a recent interview the president gave, articulating his views on the civil rights movement, which was the Black-led equal rights push to end legal discrimination and segregation in this country. He said it hurt a lot of people and ended in reverse discrimination. What does that tell you about where these ideas are coming from and how they're making their way to the President of the United States?
Yeah, I think I think we're seeing several different things in that statement. I think one of the things we're seeing is an unedited version of a belief system that has possibly always been there. It's not just new advisors suggesting something. It is a belief that white men are losing ground and that something has to be done to restore male standards, as we heard the Secretary of Defense say recently to the military, or Mark Zuckerberg, that what we really need is masculine energy in the corporate sector, right? So these kinds of gloves are off, right? There's no more hiding those kinds of statements. And I think President Trump is an example of someone who has always believed that kind of thing and is now feeling more emboldened or empowered to say it.
You know, these are ideas, as you've noted and tracked, they've long been simmering below the surface. Now they're sort of out in the open. You also cited a number of other big things that are going on the planet right now. And as a result of U.S. policy, when you see historically these kinds of campaigns, propaganda pushes, is it because they're trying to get a message out or as a distraction from something else?
It's both. So one of the things we see is that one of the very first things undemocratic leaders do is to try to confuse people, to say there's alternative facts, there are other ways of seeing the world, to undermine journalism, the media, academics, expertise, scientists, to basically say this isn't true, whether that's about vaccines or about what we saw in a video was who shot and why a woman who was protesting. So that kind of confusion is what Hannah Arendt said about the Nazis, that when you get people to stop knowing what's true and false, it's very easy for them to stop knowing what's right and wrong. And so I think that's one of the first things we see is that confuse, and then flood the zone with a lot of different things happening all at once.
Cynthia Miller-Idriss of American University, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
People are constantly asking me, what can I do? Millions have hit the streets in protest. America continues to show that Trump's authoritarianism won't go unchallenged. But marching isn't enough on its own. Between now and the 2026 midterm elections, there's a lot more we can do. Here are 5 practical next steps you can take to make a difference. Number 1, call your representatives in Congress. We are in a national emergency. You may think that calling your member of Congress doesn't have much effect, but it does. Your representatives need to know where you stand as the Trump regime attacks our democracy, and they need to hear from you every day if that's what it takes. 5calls.org makes it easy by providing guides and scripts you can use when getting in touch with your reps. It's their job to listen to you, and if they don't, replace them with somebody who does when they're up for re-election. Number 2, attend town halls.
Why did you cut SNAP and healthcare research?
We do not have unlimited money in the United States.
If you haven't been to one, start now. It's easy. You can find upcoming meetings held by your representatives near you at indivisible.org. And when you're there, ask questions, speak up, and bring friends. A big part of standing up is showing up. Number 3, join local resistance groups or organize one yourself. Start with groups related to issues that have motivated you to protest, and follow up with organizers after the events to see how you can continue to support the efforts. This helps build solidarity. It also helps build a political organization for the future. Use online resources and attend virtual trainings from organizations like the ACLU and 5051 to learn about the basics of organizing. Because remember, we are the leaders we've been waiting for. Number 4, boycott corporations and organizations that are caving to Trump. Your dollar is a source of power. Use that power by boycotting corporations and organizations that either support Trump or fail to denounce his authoritarianism. The Tesla boycott has proven effective.
How does it feel to lose $800 billion?
Law firms that cave to Trump have lost business to those that have stood up to him.
They're losing clients like McDonald's,
Oracle, Morgan Stanley, a major airline.
Target's profits are tanking after rolling back their DEI initiatives.
Black economic power is real.
Companies rely on your spending, so vote with your dollars. Number 5, protect the most vulnerable in your community. The Trump regime is not only targeting undocumented people and anyone it suspects is undocumented, but it's going after judges. It's stoking violence toward elected officials. It's trying to take away the rights of LGBTQ people. Join with others in your community to stand up to these attacks. Document what you see happening. Report it. Speak out.
You need to stop kidnapping people off the street.
If you hear people making malicious or bigoted statements, refute them.
The Charlottesville marchers, I respect their views. You really shouldn't.
Support local politicians who are standing up to the Trump regime. Support mutual aid groups that are serving people in your community. Thousands of local projects and community groups you can connect with to learn more. Friends, democracy is not a spectator sport. It's not something we can just pick up and put down, especially when the stakes are as high as they are now. I know things seem dire, and they are, but you are not alone. And I believe in you, all of you. Together, we will stand up for democracy. And together, we will win.
I'm a historian of totalitarianism.
I look at fascist rhetoric.
I've been thinking about the sources of the worst kinds of history for a quarter of a century.
Experts say the constitutional crisis is here now.
The Trump administration deporting hundreds of men without a trial.
A massive purge at the FBI to make people afraid of speaking out against him.
I'm leaving to the University of Toronto because I want to do my work without the fear that I will be punished for my words.
The lesson of 1933 is you get out sooner rather than later.
I've spent a lot of time in the last decade trying to prepare people if Trump were elected once, let alone twice.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
I did not flee Trump, but if people are going to leave the United States or leave American universities, there are reasons for that. One thing you can definitely learn from Russians
is that it's essential to set up centers of resistance in places of relative safety.
We want to make sure that if there is a political crisis in the U.S., that Americans are organized.
We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in.
My colleagues and friends, they were walking around and saying, we have checks and balances, so let's inhale, checks and balances, exhale, checks and balances. And I thought, my God, we're like people on the Titanic saying our ship can't sink. We've got the best ship, we've got the strongest ship, we've got the biggest ship, our ship can't sink. And what you know as a historian is that there is no such thing as a ship that can't sink.
The golden age of America has only just begun.
America has long had an exceptionalist narrative. Fascism can happen elsewhere, but not here.
But talking about American exceptionalism is basically a way to get people to fall into line. If you think that there's this thing out there called America, and it's exceptional, that means that you don't have to do anything. Whatever is happening, it must be freedom. And so then what your definition of freedom is just gets narrowed and narrowed and narrowed and narrowed, and soon you're using the word freedom, but what you're talking about is authoritarianism.
Toni Morrison warned us.
The descent into a final solution is not a jump, it's one step, and then another, and then another.
We are seeing those steps accelerated right now.
There are some words, in Russian in particular, that I feel help us to understand what's happening in the United States, because we now have those phenomena. Произвол. It's the idea that the powers that be can do anything they want to you, and you have no recourse. This not knowing who is next creates a state of paralysis in society.
The Tufts student whose visa was removed because she co-authored an article in the Tufts student newspaper.
I thought, what would I do if guys in masks tried to grab my student? Would I scream? Would I run away? Would I try to pull the mask off? Would I try to videotape the scene? Would I try to pull the guys off of her? Maybe I would get scared and run away. The truth is, I don't know. Not knowing terrified me.
It's a deliberate act of terror. It's not necessary. It's just being done to create a spirit of us and them.
Продажность. It's a word in Russian for corruption, but it's larger than corruption. It refers to a kind of existential state in which not only everything but everyone can be bought or sold.
Critics are calling this a quid pro quo deal between Adams and President Trump.
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. He made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million.
There's an expression in Polish. I found myself at the very bottom, and then I heard knocking from below. In Russian, that gets abbreviated to there is no bottom.
We cannot allow a handful of communist radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws.
What starts to matter is not what is concealed, but what has been normalized. There's no limit to the depravity.
President Trump did not rule out the possibility of a third term.
And the sadism.
The White House released this video titled ASMR, Illegal Alien Deportation Flight.
And the cruelty that we are watching now play out in real time.
This facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use.
You have to continually ask yourself the question, is this okay? Is there a line I wouldn't cross? Is there something I would not do?
People say, oh, the Democrats should be doing more, they should be fixing things. But if you want the Democrats to do things, you have to create the platform for them. You have to create the spectacle, the pageantry, the positive energy, the physical place where they can come to you.
Poland recently went through a shift towards authoritarianism. Unlike in Russia, unlike in Hungary, the media remained a place in Poland where you could criticize the regime. And as a result, democracy returned. The moral of Poland is that our democratic institutions, the media, the university, and the courts, are essential. You know you're living in a fascist society when you're constantly going over in your head the reasons why you're safe. What we want is a country where none of us have to feel that way.
If a leader says the rules don't count for him, that's suspicious. Clap, clap. If he says the truth is fake unless he wins, that's malicious. Clap, clap. If he hugs a flag like it's his date and tells you I alone am great, then kids, that's not debate, that's fascist behavior. Clap, clap. When Mikey says the Bible runs the law, that's not civic. When Stevie writes the rules with Hitler's paw, that's horrific. When Pete yells schools should fight, not read, and Pam sues folks for sport and greed, you know what's growing from that seed? A fascist weed. Pull it up quick. Spot a fascist, they're allergic to the truth. Ooh. Spot a fascist, keep your eyes wide, little sleuth. They'll smile and pose with flags unfurled while shrinking everyone else's world. So don't salute, don't be impressed, just say that's fascist nonsense. If Caroline says real Americans only, that's exclusion. Tisk, tisk. If she grins while stirring fear so slowly, that's illusion. So brisk. If they shout we're patriots loud and long, but punish those who prove them wrong, well, friend, that's the fascist song. Don't sing along. Clap, clap. Now, kids, if someone tells you they're the only one who can fix everything, that's not confidence. That's a red flag parade. Spot a fascist, they'll tell you what to fear. Oh, spot a fascist, then vote them out next year. They hate the facts, they love the fame, they call it truth, we call it shame. So grab your crayons, write their names, and vote them out of the game. So keep your heart big, your brain turned on, and your democracy light left on. They'll roar and rant, all bluster and bluff, but smart kids see right through that stuff. Spot a fascist, they're allergic to the truth. Ooh. Spot a fascist, keep your eyes wide, little sleuth.
You gotta do, no. Everybody over here, let's get right here, let's get Latinos.
So we're 2025.
Yeah.
And we hear democracy is in danger. We're more divided than ever. Is it? Are we? Or are we still sort of on this path of gradual but unsteady improvement, and this fierce partisanship is actually part of the design of the system?
I think it is true that we are more divided and that our democracy is more unstable than any time in my lifetime, not in American history. I mean, you know, we did have like a civil war and stuff. I mean, there've been some pretty big, you know, breakdowns in the process. But I would say that the order, the system, the sets of institutions that were built after World War II, and then refined over the course of subsequent generations, I think those are unstable. in ways I would not have expected. I would not have expected the legitimacy of an election and the peaceful transfer of power to have been challenged. I thought that was not something that would happen today. I would not expect the politicization of the Justice Department or our military. And I don't think that's happened. I think there's been resistance, particularly in the military, to that. But the degree to which that has been encouraged, that used to be something that I would lecture other countries not to do. You don't have your military involved in partisan politics. Its loyalty is to the Constitution. Its loyalty is not to any party. Its loyalty is not to any party, and it is not to any president. When I came into office, my working assumption was that I did not win the Pentagon vote. I'm running against John McCain, a war hero and POW, and I am a 47-year-old African-American from Chicago who had never served. And when I was sworn into office and I boarded Marine One or Air Force One, they saluted. And if I said, this is what we need to do, they said, yes, sir. And when I'm sitting with my Joint Chiefs of Staff, they are giving me their best unvarnished advice. And over time, I didn't just win them following orders. They would say, because they've written about it, I won their respect because they never saw me make a decision about national security that in any way was affected by me worrying about my politics. Because they also understood we were in the middle of two wars, and the most sacred duty I had was if I was going to send some 22-year-old kid on the other side of the world and potentially would die, I could not look myself in the mirror if I was making those decisions based on politics. That is part of our government, self-government, that should be unimpeachable. I think the Justice Department, Eric Holder was my Attorney General. I never spoke to him about any active case because our democracy requires that no one is above the law, and that as best as we can manage it, the power of the state is wielded in an objective way that people can trust. So that when a prosecutor says somebody does something, we know they have to present their evidence. And when a judge rules on something, we are going to abide by it, even if we don't like it, because we believe that their fealty is to that higher standard. And so there are norms like that that have been eroded, actively undermined in some cases, that I believe are a problem. And those are not Those norms, those rules, and those values are not Republican or Democratic. They are American. And so So I have been concerned, and I've expressed this publicly, the degree to which I think folks have been willing to overlook those things, in part out of fear that they are going to be punished by the state. That's what is supposed to happen someplace else. It's not supposed to happen here. It's just not. And I've said to, you know, there have been times where I've been speaking to business leaders who've come up to me and said, yeah, I know this is crazy, but, you know, we don't want to be. I said, you know what? Here's the thing, though. I've been in other countries where it looks like you can avoid, keep your head down, but eventually, when these norms and rules of law are broken, sooner or later, it gets you too. Sooner or later, because you're now operating on whim. The reason I think that we have found ourselves in a position where where we have folks in power who are not abiding as much as I would like with these norms and rules, does have to do with underlying divisions in our society that had been building up for some time. And there are several reasons for that. Part of it is we have political rules that encourage polarization. I was mentioning to some folks over lunch, political gerrymandering has now created a situation where districts are drawn with such precision that if you're in a Republican district, you'll never lose to a Democrat, so all you have to worry about is not being primaried by somebody even further to the right than you, and if you're in a Democratic district, all your concerns are about are the most extreme elements of your party. And then social media compounds that, because the folks who get the most attention on social media are the ones with the most extreme, absolutist, maximalist positions on every single issue. And they make the most noise. They get the most attention, and they get the most hits and the most likes. And the economics of these platforms and their algorithms drive in that direction. And so we have replaced what used to be genuine communities, little leagues and PTAs and, you know, meeting folks at the bowling alley and at the bar and wherever else you would get to know people, in which case you understood people are complicated and nobody has exactly one view on everything, and you know, the person who's a little more conservative than you turns out, man, such good people, and you know, helped you out when you needed something around the house, and the person who seemed like this really crazy, wacky liberal, man, you know, they're really, you know, a great teacher and really helped my kid doing something. And so you're not making judgments about people based on some labels and algorithms. We now occupy that space, and that undermines that part of American exceptionalism that I mentioned earlier about us being joiners and us just, you know, constantly interacting with people and being in public spaces and getting to know each other and telling each other stories so that we understood each other and gave each other the benefit of the doubt. That's what we've lost. So I don't think you can just fix it by fixing political rules or electing, you know, one party over another. That's not going to solve the entire problem. I think we have to change some of the civic habits underlying some of these issues, which partly means getting off the phone, but
How do you know when you're not free at all? When the walls feel closer each day, when ballots are counted but power's decided and the people have no real say. How do you know? How do you see the end of the land of the brave and the free? It don't fall fast, it fades out slow. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know when democracy dies and the law is just a weapon of rule? When judges are chosen to carry the banner and the tyrant is crowned by the school. How will you know? How will you see the end of the land of the brave and the free? It doesn't fall fast, it fades out slow. How will you know? How will you know? You'll know when the voices of truth disappear and the headlines are paid to lie. When protest is branded as danger and crime, and the free lose the will to defy. It isn't one day, it's the drift and decay, it's the shadows that creep in the night. And the moment you wait, it may be too late to defend what is yours by right. Now you know, now you see the end of the land of the brave and the free. Don't let it fall, don't let it go. Stand up now and let them know. Raise your voices, take a stand, hold the line for this troubled land. Freedom lives when the people show. We won't let go, we won't let go. No, we won't let go, we won't let go.
Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in modern American history. Days in, voters have elected Democrats in Republican-held districts all across the country, including in Iowa and Pennsylvania. Elon Musk spent $25 million to buy a state Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin and lost by double digits. In more than 200 different lawsuits have been filed against the unconstitutional and unlawful executive orders of Donald Trump. And the American people are winning in court. Principled opposition to Republican extremism is taking shape from sea to shining sea. The American people are rising up and making it clear that the Trump administration has a lot to
Leaders from the Illinois Latino Caucus and immigrant rights groups are standing together here at Federal Plaza after a press conference. They say putting troops on city streets would intimidate residents and create fear, not safety. But under federal law, the National Guard is restricted in a city like Chicago. The president insists he can send troops into Chicago, and he wants to do it as part of his law and order crackdown. Outside Federal Plaza, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, state lawmakers and advocates said the president's plan is less about crime and more about control. They also shared resources for immigrant communities, including hotlines and Know Your Rights guides to prepare for the possibility of federal action.
The presence of the National Guard will not bring safety. It will bring fear, hurt small businesses, and it will traumatize and re-traumatize families who are still healing from the past harm. And it will do nothing more than feed a base of cruelty, evil, and hate.
Hey, Donnie, pack your bags, the lease is up today. You treated our democracy like some Trump hotel buffet. You gold-plated the bathrooms, you sprayed tan the lawn. And when we said respect the law, you said law, that's gone. You're tacking loud, a one-man parade of lies, bad suits, and unpaid aids. It's not your house, Donald, it's ours, you clown. The people built it up and we're tearing you down. It's not your throne, it's a rented seat. And we're changing the locks on Pennsylvania Street. It's not your army, Dawn, they fight for us, not you. They swore to guard the flag, not your fragile ego too. You called them your generals, well that's cute and quaint. They'd rather court-martial you than kiss your faint gold paint. You're the squatter-in-chief of the USA, and the people are here to haul your junk away. It's not your house, Donald, go count your sheep. Art of the deal, more like on the sheep. You can't rule by tantrum, you can't rule by tweet. So go back to Mar-a-Lago, your time's complete. You broke the Justice Department, you bent every rule. You made corruption sound like Sunday school. You flunked the civics test, you failed the vibe. You're a dictator's fan club with a spray tan tribe.
It's not your house.
Can I get an amen?
It's not your job.
Tell it again. You've lied and you cheated, we're calling your bluff.
Pack it up, Donnie, we've had enough.
It's not your house, Donald, it's ours, you fraud. You confused commander-in-chief with wannabe God. You thought the nation was your family brand, but we're the landlords and we got the upper hand. So take your ketchup stains and your Diet Coke crown, your grift, your golf, and your golden clown town. It's not your house, Don, time to move on out. Sign the American people without a doubt.